Everybody, welcome to another episode of the show. I'm back. It's been, I don't think, about a week since my last upload. I've been doing, if you guys are just joining my channel, I think this is I started back in July of last year, and I've been consistently uploading at least 2 or 3 times a week, every week, for about, I don't know, how long is last July, like 9 months ago or something like that? 10 months, oh, well over that, 10 months ago? No, 9 months ago, something like that. I didn't upload for I didn't even upload for like 6 days, and it felt like forever. So a bunch of stuff has happened, and I'm going to record a series of these today. But in this specific episode, I want to talk about the LA subway and what they found there. I do a bunch of these episodes. A lot of them are in metropolitan areas where they're either building a giant new structure or a tunnel for a new metro station or something like that. A lot of that happens in the UK. Like some of the stuff I've covered happened in the UK. I did one where they were reconstructing a bridge in the Boston area on the east coast of LA, or in the east coast of the United States, and they found some stuff there from the frontier days of the colonial era United States, or the colonies rather. And then today we're doing one in the LA subway. Now, LA is not really known for its subway system. They're still expanding. I know that, what's his name? Elon Musk is drilling holes everywhere for this underground, not really a metro, but like a high-speed railway that he wants to do. But they are expanding the Purple Line, which runs through like Wilshire Boulevard and other parts. I know a lot of this is like regional stuff, so if you guys aren't from LA, you probably won't know exactly what I'm talking about. But fortunately enough, I have a map here. I have several maps. So as you can see here, this is Los Angeles, and this is the Los Angeles basin. So all this is pretty much sea level. So if there's a flood, Los Angeles is done pretty much. Around here, this is the valley, San Fernando Valley, 818. Over further to the east is San Gabriel Valley, and then this is the Angeles National Forest, Mount San Antonio, like 4,500 feet elevation, something like that. Mount Baldy, I think Mount Baldy is the highest point. But anyway, we're just going to focus on the basin here, which is right here, and then Orange County to the southeast. During the Pleistocene era, this place was mainly buffalo or bison and horses, along with giant ground sloths, saber-toothed cats, dire wolves, which are considerably bigger wolves than the gray wolves that's also in North America. And they found a bunch of fossils when they were trying to extend the Purple Line, which is the metro station that runs in downtown LA. They found allegedly over 500 fossils dating to the Ice Age. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because it may have to do with the Younger Dryas. So here's some other maps too. As you can see here, here's the Orange County Coastal Plain, the West Coast Basin, the Central Basin. So we're going to be focusing on this trifecta here of the Central, Santa Monica, and West Coast Basin. And then here's another cool map that's hand-drawn. It's a topographical map. So again, you can see the valley here, and then here's San Gabriel, San Fernando, and then LA and Orange County here, and these mountains here. This is a beautiful spot if you haven't been here. Here's a picture of this complete skull of a Columbian mammoth, nearly complete, and this is a juvenile skull. I guess if you're a skeptic and you're looking at this, you would probably say, oh, this is fake, or they planted this, or whatever. I guess you're free to have that opinion. I can't really prove you wrong. But they just found this, so I don't know. If you guys are of either camp, you just watch this with an open mind going forward, and you can have those reservations. But this is just what's been reported, not just from one outlet. This is unanimous across all scientific outlets. So if all these journalists and all these outlets are compromised and they're buying into the fake fossils and all this shit, that's fine. I respect your opinion, but I'm going to err on the side of caution and say that, yeah, these were legit, and it makes sense. It's not that long ago, guys. This is like 12,000 years ago. You guys can say that about the dinosaurs if you want. That's millions and millions of years ago. Have at it. But this is, not only is it local, It's in the very recent past, and it has to do with the Younger Dryas, and I'll continue that line of thought in a second. But all of these fossils date back to the Pleistocene, which again, the end of the Pleistocene was coincided with the end of the Ice Age, 12,000 or so years ago. The LA basin was home to a bunch of these giant megafauna. Like I said, the giant ground sloth, they had giant squirrels, or the beavers, all these giant birds. There was a bunch. It was home to a diverse ecosystem of giant animals, and maybe some humans too at the time. Probably. We count as megafauna as well, most of us. Megafauna, if you don't know, is defined by an animal that's larger than 100 pounds. I'm guessing. I'm assuming that that's what it is. It might have changed, but it's around there. 100 or so pounds and higher, you're a megafauna. They're building this underground train station, and so how it works is they have this giant excavator that carves out a tunnel, and then they have an archaeologist or a paleontologist, rather, either one or several of them, who's supervising it, and then they'll say, if they see anything that may look like a fossil, literally they'll say, stop, this isn't dirt, let's have a closer look. And that's what they did. They had this team looking over their shoulder just to see, just so they wouldn't overlook any sort of animal or fossil or bones or anything like that. So they found this direwolf fossil. What else did they find? They found about 15 feet below the surface, they started finding a bunch of stuff. They found a horse spine or a vertebrae. What else did they find? The Columbian mammoth I showed you a picture of, the largely complete skull. 2 partial skeletons and a nearly complete skull of a giant ground sloth was discovered. And then they also discovered a nearly complete pelvis, and then they nicknamed the sloth Shakira because hips don't lie. Paleontologists also found well-preserved remains of bison, including a 12,900-year-old lower jaw at the La Cienega station. So they're only going to keep finding more and more of these guys. I don't have to tell you, but just for the newer listeners and the viewers out there, it's very rare for a fossil to be formed. It takes a lot of... The stars have to align for bones to be preserved. The fact that they found 500 in this small area means there must have been so many megafauna. It must have been teeming, that the fact that we have all these fossils is a testament to the populations back then. So what I'm saying is the populations were so high that even though creating a fossil takes the stars to align, it happened many times over. So that must have meant that these animals were roaming around, not uncontested, but the ecosystem was so balanced that there was ample population of a lot of these megafauna. Not to say that nothing was going extinct. I'm sure stuff was going extinct, maybe not at the rate of things nowadays with the advent of civilization and technology and, pollution and all that stuff. But it does stand to reason and logic that the things were more in balance and animals had their territory. So the Los Angeles basin, there are a lot of horses and bison here. And it makes sense. Werewolves as well, and giant saber-toothed cats, who, although they weren't as big in numbers wise, there aren't as many of them, and they kind of kept to themselves. But it makes sense that they were around because they preyed on the bison. They're a natural predator of the bison, but there were enough bison to survive and not get out hunted, so it kind of balanced itself out. There's a word for this in biology, I just can't remember it, but yeah, they kept each other in check, and then there was this ecological equilibrium or something like that. So we're finding this now in the ground. So it continues. Bison fossils are common since they dominated the prehistoric Los Angeles basin and were the most common large animal around after plant-eating large horses. The partial sloth skeleton was discovered in sediments that contain fragments of charcoal. So this is where the Younger Dryas kicks in. They're surmising the fact, because they found in the sediments a lot of this charcoal, that there must have been a huge ancient wildfire. So what follows a wildfire are rains, heavy rains, which we, in California anyway, there was a lot of fires last year, and then now there's a bunch of rain. And then when there's a lot of rain, it sparks a lot of mudslides, mud flow, stuff gets rearranged, the topography kind of changes a little bit, and these mudslides catch these herds of bison off guard, and they just bury them, and then that's it. It's a done deal. So they think that that's what happened. Now, what could cause a huge wildfire enough to cause these massive landslides? Well, the Younger Dryas event seems to be a really good candidate, not because of the time frame, but also the scale at which the Younger Dryas affected all of North America. Essentially, all of North America was on fire for a while, and all that stuff caught fire. Then there were heavy rains and mud rain, and all this debris coming down. And it just killed a whole population of these megafauna, a bunch of them, like 85% of the megafauna just died like that in North America. And that's why it's so interesting that we can connect these dots now, because we have so many data points. So that's where the Younger Dryas comes in here. Did it affect other parts of the globe as well? Absolutely. It affected South America as well, parts of Europe. Actually, most of Europe, almost all the way to Turkey. And the fact that they found that crater in Greenland, that may be just one of a few of these impacts around that time period. Think of it like a rock, but it land okay. Let's think of it like birdshot from a shotgun. When you shoot it, it hits in a general area, but there's a bunch of different impact proxy sites. So that one in Greenland is probably one of the bigger ones, and it was probably responsible for so much destruction in that radius alone. So this is just more evidence of the biosphere being affected by this site. So we have evidence, we have glacial evidence, we have evidence of the water and the currents near the Arctic and the Atlantic. We have impact proxies like these microspherules and these nanodiamonds as far away as Turkey and some parts of the Mediterranean and most of Northern Europe. All the stuff in North America, which was the closest to, I guess you can call the epicenter of this destructive event, just on fire, just completely destroyed. Of course, nature finds a way, and things get repopulated, and balance sort of finds itself after a while. But remember, this is only 12,000 years ago, between 13 and 12,000 years ago. So anything that happened in North America around that time period, when it comes to destruction and extinction, most likely had to do with the Younger Dryas, just because of the sheer size of the destruction, the sheer the radius of like I said, destruction and desolation and all the stuff that people talked about or either orally or they had legends about when they started writing about this event. So this is a big time event. It's not just some stab in the dark, guys. This is pretty, you can safely assume that this is added to the pile of evidence that the Younger Dryas did indeed happen, and it did indeed affect the Los Angeles basin. So here's another picture. It's called Cogstone. The paleontologists come from this company called Cogstone, which is basically they work with the Transit Authority to find these fossils and stuff, like I said earlier. So this is the ancient bison, the vertebrae. And they're finding a lot of vertebrae, which is interesting. Here's a toe bone of a horse. And I did an episode a long time ago about horses in North America and how a lot of the horses are from North America. But then this Younger Dryas event destroyed most of them that lived there. But then they crossed. Let me find the map here. Let me just zoom out. Now, this is a theory. when the Beringia land bridge was still around, the horses, just a lot of the horses migrated up and over into Asia. But they originally came from North America, and then they came back full circle, and they were reintroduced to the United States once humans started to tame them and started transporting them and domesticating them. But the horses in North America at this time in the Pleistocene, they looked like very close to zebras. They weren't black and white, but they had these stripes that were very odd, and it wasn't that long ago. So one phenomena that I had about when I made this video was when you release a domestic horse into the wild, they get those stripes back. Just much like how a pig, when a domesticated pig, you take one and you put him in the wild, he grows tusks, he gets all this hair, he turns into a warthog or something like that, like a huge hog, and his skin hardens. That's all because domestication, again, humans haven't domesticated animals for that long, and so they kind of revert back to their wild form. And some people report this with dogs as well. Wild dogs, they sort of revert into this canid-like animal closer to wolves, and they're not that far away from wolves genetically, so it makes a lot of sense. So, and speaking of wolves, a lot of the gray wolves, they also migrated up and over to Asia, and they became the Asian red wolf, and some of them branched off, and coyotes kind of branched off a few 100,000 years before that, and I did a video on that as well. But yeah, just this whole subject matter is very interesting, and again, you can trace it back to the Younger Dryas. Why would all these horses just leave? Why would all these animals just leave? Have you ever heard that dogs let's just use dogs for this example. Before an earthquake happens, they seem to know. They have this intuition that something's going to happen, and they just get out of dodge. It's like this survival mechanism. Well, what's not to say that this was also in play as well? Maybe they sensed something bad was going on. Granted, this is not an earthquake. This is an asteroidal impact. Maybe they couldn't fathom that. But either way, horses survived, and they went on to they escaped to the other continent. I'm not saying that all horses came from North America. I'm saying that when these continents were closer together, horses were living at that time already. And then when everything started breaking apart, there was like I said earlier, zebras in Africa. There were horses in parts of Europe already, but then there were also horses in North America as well. A lot of people think that they were just reintroduced, and then somehow the Indians learned or the Native Americans learned how to domesticate them later. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll have a series of videos coming out. Either maybe, if I feel like it, maybe I'll upload them all today, or maybe I'll upload some tomorrow as well. Either way, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see you guys later.